Because Bitcoin is intolerant of violence. Bitcoin demonetizes violence and it monetizes peace and love, right? So it's part of the ethos of Bitcoin. And when you talk about adoption of Bitcoin, people tend to focus on the payments rail, the payments of Bitcoin, and is it used on a day-to-day basis for payments. But that's only one piece of the adoption story. The most important thing about Bitcoin adoption is you start thinking about Bitcoin. You can never even touch Bitcoin and still be orange-pilled. If you start to think about Bitcoin and what it means to society and to money, and it's about a transformative intellectual process where you leave the fiat money dark ages and you enter the bright orange future.
As Bitcoin continues to gain momentum, its rise toward becoming a cornerstone of the global financial system seems inevitable. The cryptocurrency's increasing influence challenges traditional fiat currencies and central bank digital currencies, signaling a shift toward a new financial order. This evolution promises to reshape economic structures and redefine how value and transactions are perceived on a global scale. In line with this revolutionary change, Max Keiser, in a recent conversation with podcaster Seyr, emphasized Bitcoin's profound impact in El Salvador. He noted that Bitcoin has triggered a psychological shift beyond just transactions, highlighting its ability to thrive under pressure while promoting peace. Keiser dismissed central bank digital currencies and altcoins as inferior, firmly advocating for Bitcoin's adoption in El Salvador. Keiser credits Bitcoin for transforming the country, noting that its influence goes beyond payments. He believes Bitcoin initiates a psychological evolution, guiding people away from traditional fiat systems and into a new era of financial consciousness, which he calls the Bitcoin singularity. In this state, Bitcoin replaces fear with faith, paving the way for a brighter financial future. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
And how much is like Nayib Bukele as a leader?
Well, since my job is really to advise on Bitcoin and to kind of bring Bitcoin into El Salvador and Bitcoin maximalism, I would say it's 100% due to Bitcoin. You know, other people would have another opinion, but I think that, you know, it's no coincidence that after making Bitcoin legal tender, then the president became intolerant of the violence that was all around and went to war against the gangs. And the country has had a gangectomy. You know, the gangs were removed from the country. And because Bitcoin is intolerant of violence, Bitcoin demonetizes violence and it monetizes peace and love, right? So it's part of the ethos of Bitcoin. And when you talk about adoption of Bitcoin, people tend to focus on the payments rail, the payments of Bitcoin, and is it used on a day-to-day basis for payments. But that's only one piece of the adoption story. The most important thing about Bitcoin adoption is you start thinking about Bitcoin. You can never even touch Bitcoin and still be orange-pilled. If you start to think about Bitcoin and what it means to society and to money, and it's about a transformative intellectual process where you leave the fiat money dark ages and you enter the bright orange future of Bitcoin. And that's everywhere here in the country. The entire country has a 100% adoption rate, in my opinion, because it's 100% talked about in this country. And it's having a profound impact on the day-to-day life of everybody in the country. I call it the Bitcoin singularity. So Bitcoin essentially algebraically solves for fear. You know, it removes fear from human consciousness. And it replaces it with faith. So we have 100% faith-based species. If we can get there, you know, it's kind of a race to see whether humans will survive the current situation that we have, where the worst elements of society are really vying for dictatorial power in countries around the world, and their policy is for total authoritarian control. So if we can get through this next few years, then on the other side of it is the Bitcoin singularity and kind of a global awakening consciousness, a Bitcoin consciousness of love. You know, love works. Love is a perfectly acceptable organizing principle if you have Bitcoin, perfect money, running in the background. And this is, as I said, demonetizes violence. Now, to give you an example of this, for example, so humans for 500,000 years or 1,000,000 years, part of the experience for all humans was violence from those who might be interested in taking your property, for example. If they can't get it by any other means, they would resort to violence. If you have unconfiscatable property, which is Bitcoin, then really it removes violence as an option in accumulating property. You have to come into the conversation or into the exchange with something other than violence, because violence just doesn't work in a post-Bitcoin global standard world. And so that's what we have on the other side of this. I think that humans are primed for this type of existence. It's taken us a long time to get here, but I think we're on the verge now of that Bitcoin singularity and an existence based entirely on love. Well, CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, are just an extension of the fiat money world, right? There's nothing new there. It's just more fiat money. And the same thing with altcoins. All altcoins, whether it's Ethereum or any of the other 20, 30, or 40,000 altcoins, they are an extension of fiat money. They're not part of the Bitcoin universe. And so as such, they're not offering anything new in terms of competing with Bitcoin. So I don't see them succeed in any way. CBDCs are just an extension of the problems that we have already.
According to Max Keiser, Bitcoin's design allows it to thrive under attack, which only strengthens its security and value. He believes that opposition to Bitcoin is essential for its success, viewing the current challenges as a dark moment before the dawn. Keiser likens the coming shifts in global financial consciousness to the Big Bang, dismissing central bank digital currencies as a last-ditch effort to save the fiat system. Keiser credits El Salvador for playing a pivotal role in the Bitcoin revolution by keeping shitcoins out of the country. He highlights El Salvador's significant contributions, including its status as the country with the largest Bitcoin holdings, legal tender adoption, and the recruitment of top talent in the Bitcoin space. Max Keiser believes that Bitcoin's rise is as inevitable as gravity, and El Salvador's alignment with Bitcoin only strengthens that momentum. Let's return to the interview for more insights from Max Keiser.
I think one of the interesting design attributes of Bitcoin is that it's designed to be attacked. And the more you attack it, the greater the hash rate goes up, and therefore the greater the security, and therefore the greater its use as a store of value. So it's a very interesting situation where Bitcoin really is designed to get attacked in this sense. You know, if nobody hated Bitcoin, it wouldn't be as successful as it is today. We need people to hate Bitcoin and try to attack Bitcoin to make it obvious that it's immutable, indestructible, and on its permanent vector. It's just we're at that phase where you have the darkest moment before the dawn, right? It's the darkest before the dawn. You have that blackness, the black period before the Big Bang. You know, this is really echoes the Big Bang. I think it's the Bitcoin Big Bang. It's the Big Bang of consciousness that's coming. And that's where I see CBDCs. I don't see them having any material impact whatsoever. It's just the last gasp of a dying fiat money mentality.
If I go out in the normal world and go out talk with my uncles, they don't get the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum.
It's, you know, that's a lot of the work that we do here in El Salvador. It's both Bitcoin centric and talking about Bitcoin and promoting Bitcoin. It's also creating a very firm perimeter through which the altcoins and the shitcoins can't get through. And we've been really successful in that, because look at the last couple of years when you had the FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Celsius, Luna, all those really bad coins that created unbelievable damage. None of them appeared here. None of them were here because we were very impactful in keeping them out through a number of different ways. And you see the result here in El Salvador. That's the importance of it. You see the results. We don't have the problem of a shitcoin infestation. Right. So they're really, they're parasites. And so you need to keep them out, or they will just nibble away at everything you've been working for. There's absolutely nothing that any of these shitcoin projects have to offer. And here in El Salvador, basically, the way it's set up is Bitcoin is money, and everything else, you have to go and get registered as a security. So unlike the United States, where the SEC will take this approach of a case-by-case study, it's enforcement through prosecution or something like this, whereas here we have a very clear legal distinction. There's Bitcoin, and then everything else is an unregistered security without any equivocation. And the results are in. We're leading the world in the Bitcoin revolution. We've got the biggest stash of Bitcoin on the reserves of any country. We've got Bitcoin legal tender. We are a Bitcoin country. We are attracting the best and the brightest. We're attracting the biggest Bitcoin companies from around the world, right? So we're leading the way here. When you hear about Donald Trump and he's talking about Bitcoin, and he's at the Nashville event and he's talking about Bitcoin, on his Bitcoin journey, he's what I call the 5 stages of enlightenment of Bitcoin. He's, I would say, on the second step. He hasn't really, so he's just getting started. Well, in Bitcoin, you have this concept of inevitability. And with Bitcoin, the progress and success of Bitcoin is inevitable. There is no stopping Bitcoin vector. There's no human ability to stop it. It's like gravity or any unstoppable force. El Salvador is now, because it's aligned itself with Bitcoin, has become equally unstoppable and equally inevitable. El Salvador is now the one true indispensable country in the world.
Meanwhile, economists, traders, politicians, and financial journalists have been eagerly awaiting the Federal Reserve's decision on U.S. interest rates.
Meanwhile, economists, traders, politicians, and financial journalists have been eagerly awaiting the Federal Reserve's decision on U.S. interest rates. It's been 14 months since the Fed last raised its key federal funds rate to 5.25% to 5.5% in July 2023, and 54 months since the Fed reduced rates back in March 2020. Now, the Fed is expected to announce a rate cut following its 2-day Federal Open Market Committee meeting this week. Along with this, significant economic and earnings reports are also expected. Futures trading shows a split in market expectations. Half of traders anticipate a quarter-point rate cut to 5% to 5.25%. While the other half are hoping for a half-point cut to 4.75% to 5%. The Fed's rate decision, scheduled for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, could have a substantial impact on stock markets. Even if the announcement itself doesn't move markets, 2 key events might: Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's press conference, which could offer insights into future rate cuts, and the release of the dot plot chart, showing Fed officials' projections for the economy, inflation, and interest rates over the coming years. Despite the Fed's cautious approach to cutting rates, as noted by the Street's Martin Barksdale, the central bank has been deliberate in both its rate adjustments and its battle against inflation. What are your thoughts on Max Keiser's vision of the Bitcoin singularity and its potential impact on society? Do you agree with his perspective, or do you have a different view on Bitcoin's role in shaping the financial future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.